All right, everybody, this is a question I get asked many times. Yami, what is your favorite motorcycle that you have ridden? And I honestly have a lot because I actually keep a spreadsheet of every motorcycle I've ever ridden and kind of like a whole experience spreadsheet. And apparently I've ridden 161 motorcycles. I've owned 57 of them, and I've done 102 track days apparently and 19 race days, 30 bikes on track, 13 different racetracks, 12 different countries ridden. It's a pretty lengthy experience list. So I combed through this list and I came together, because I couldn't just pick one. I picked a lot, way more than I wanted to. Several of my favorite motorcycles that I have ridden of all time. I've also have a couple here that I haven't ridden yet, but are still favorites and I really, really want to ride. So today, we're just gonna take a little trip down memory lane. I'm gonna tell you guys all about my favorite motorcycles that I have ridden and why they are my favorites. But before we get into it, one of my favorite bikes, it's not on this list, I'm gonna be totally honest, but one of my favorites is our new Kawasaki ZX4 RR, very unique little 399cc inline 4-cylinder machine, a very peppy, fun little bike. And we're actually giving away 5x entries on our store right now. So head over to yaminoob.co, pick out anything you want, helmet, jackets, gear, parts, t-shirts, hats. We sell all kinds of amazing and useful things over on our store from reputable sellers like Alpine Stars, Revit, Dainese, Scorpion, all kinds of amazing brands, and you'll get yourself 5x entries for every dollar you spend. Check that out in the link in the description down below. Now let's get into it. My very favorite motorcycles of all time. All right, starting the list off today is a bit of an oddball one. It's the MV Agusta F3 800 RC. We had this bike in late 2020 and into 21, I think, and I was absolutely smitten and mystified by this machine. It was the kind of more swole Daytona that I've always dreamed about. I rode the Daytona 765 Moto 2 edition, and honestly, I was left from that bike feeling a little disappointed. It was a bit like a street triple that had fairings on it. The motor did not have the super sky-high screaming RPM that the 675 Daytona had. But this MV Agusta 800 RC was amazing. It was so race bike, it was so analog, so raw. I had the chance to take it out on track at Eagles Canyon, rip a bunch of laps with it, quick shifter up and down, worked beautifully, made an amazing sound, revved super high. Really, really love that motorcycle, and it's definitely one of my favorites that I've ridden. Okay, up next, just so you guys don't think that I'm a Triumph simp, because there's a lot of Triumphs on today's list, but obviously that comes with the territory if you're watching this channel. It's actually the Rocket 3. The Rocket 3 is genuinely one of my favorite bikes that I've ever ridden. I've gotten the chance to ride several Rocket 3s over the years. I first rode one in 2020 in Tucson with like a Triumph experience thing. And I actually lost that vlog. I ended up accidentally deleting it off an SD card. And then I had to wait another 2 years in 2022 when I got a rental one from Eurocycle, and we did a bunch of videos with it. And actually famously, the fuel pump fuse blew or something like that, and we had to replace it. It was a bit of a weird thing with that bike last year. But I love the Rocket 3. It is so unique. There is no other motorcycle quite like that bike. And that's a theme you're gonna see in today's videos, is I like really unique riding experiences. There's not a whole lot of Japanese 4-cylinder bikes on the list today because I just don't find them that unique or esoteric or bespoke. And so the Rocket 3, man, it's just got this, God, it's just oozing character and pizzazz. There's very few motorcycles you ride with 160 foot-pounds of torque and 165 horsepower. Nothing that big should move that fast on 2 wheels. And I just love the thing. With foot-forward controls, this commanding riding position, I could easily see having one in my stable in a few years, going back in the catalog and getting one of these newer generation Rocket 3s with a 2.5-liter 3-cylinder engine. That is bigger than the car engine that was in my first car. I had a Mazda 3 as my first vehicle. It was a 2-liter inline 4. This bike is a 2.5-liter 3-cylinder. Super cool machine. Really love riding that thing. Okay, next is a bike that I actually sold and I owned personally, but I really wish I hadn't sold it. It was the Yamaha WR250R. I've been thinking more and more about this bike lately, and honestly, I think the WR is an amazing machine. Look, I love my Husqvarna 501, and it's actually on the list later, and I'll talk about it later, but the WR250R has just everything going for it. Yes, I know the frickin' off-road purists will say it's too heavy and blah, 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 but honestly, the WR can get you very far in the bush, very far in the trail, and it will go for 21,000 miles without a valve interval check. And it's just a really, really good motorcycle. Everything about it works really well. Everything is like exactly what you would expect. There's nothing weird about it. It's just that ultimate Japanese reliability and ultimate Japanese build quality you've come to know and expect. And I had so much fun with my WR. I really wish I kept that bike, to be honest. I kind of wish I didn't get my Husky 501. I wish I just kept the WR. The resale value on a WR will just hold forever. Everyone loves those bikes. You can always flip it. You can always do stuff with it. You can put supermoto wheels and tires on it. Go have fun with it. Do wheelies. Super cool bike. Love the WR. Okay, next up, it's another Triumph. There's gonna be several on the list today. I'm sorry, it's me. You've asked me for my favorite motorcycles, and a lot of them are Triumphs because I love the brand. It's actually the Speed Triple 1200 RR. I was really into this motorcycle when we got one in 2022 and gave it away for several reasons. Number one, it's the closest thing to a superbike that Triumph has ever built. It's got about 175 horsepower, fully fared, kind of, clip-ons, kind of, and that kind of actually makes it really, really cool. Let me tell you why. One of my favorite things about the Speed Triple 1200 RR is the fact that it's very comfortable to ride. Despite having full fairings, the bike's rider triangle is actually very straightforward. It seats more like a SV650X or something like that. I could ride the bike around all day and be totally comfortable. And I took it out on track and just had so much fun with it. It was so capable on track. It's got the electronic Öhlins suspension, beautiful handling bike, beautiful sound, beautiful look and design. I got a lot of looks and questions about that bike when I was rolling around here in Austin, whenever we had it as a giveaway bike, and ended up falling really, really in love with that machine. That was another one that I was like, man, I could really see myself owning one of these. This is a really, really cool bike. I think it has a lot going for it. It's very unique, very cool. I do wish that the one thing I would say about it is I kind of wish the electronics package was a little bit more sophisticated, or if it was just more analog, one way or the other, because it's a little janky. I find this current generation Triumph electronics to just, the screen's a little slow, the switch clusters are a little weird. I don't like the joystick thing. I much prefer the more analog, simple Triumphs, but everything else about that bike was amazing. So Speed Triple 1200 RR, definitely up there on my top favorite list. Okay, the next one is one that's just near and dear to my heart, and every time I see one, I just melt, and I think every rider can relate to this because it was my very first motorcycle. It's the Yamaha R3. I fully understand that the Ninja 400 is pretty much better in every single way, shape, and form. I think the RC 390 is more interesting and race ready to ride, but something about the R3, especially the first generation with the hexagon rev counter in red and white, that was the color I got back in 2015, which was over 8 years now. I just adored that motorcycle. It was my very first motorcycle, and every time I see a red and white Yamaha R3 from 2015 to 2018, that generation before they updated the body styling, I just gush over it. I think it's the coolest little thing. It will always bring back so many treasured memories for me of when I first started riding, first learning how to pop little wheelies, trying to get the thing leaned over. I wish I had kept it. It would be so cool to still own my very first motorcycle, but you know, it's one of those things where you don't think about it in hindsight, and then you just start kicking yourself and regretting forever selling it, because I could definitely always make space for my very first bike. So don't be surprised if I end up buying another red and white Yamaha R3 just to have one to say that it's still my first bike. That would be really cool. Okay, the next one, it had to be on here because I do think it's very, very unique and very interesting. It's obviously my Turbo Hayabusa. Even though it's blown up, and it's actually right over there, you may be able to see it on camera, I still, to this day, have not ridden anything that terrifies and excites me the same way that my Turbo Hayabusa did. It's very sad that Jixabra came and slayed it and it's dead now. It may be revived at some point. I think that would actually make for a very cool video if we did end up reviving it or doing something. The more time that passes, the less fresh the wounds are as the scars heal up. I kind of want to go back and bat for it and maybe build it back up, you know, but then I just think about it, I'm like, oh God. So on the one hand, it's one of my favorite bikes I've ever had and ridden, and on the other hand, it caused me so many headaches and so much pain. But I think those two can coexist, you know? Sometimes the bikes that cause you so much headache are the ones that you end up loving the most, and the Turbo Hayabusa was definitely one of those bikes for me. Those fleeting moments I got, you know, it was maybe a total of 1,500 miles with that bike, of just spooling boost on a bike. I will never forget and I will cherish forever. Truly unique, truly amazing experience. The Turbo Hayabusa lives forever in my heart, forever. And it's like the ultimate meme machine, come on. Okay, up next, there's a pair of Ducatis. It wouldn't be me if I didn't include a couple Ducatis on the list too. This one probably won't surprise you. It was our Ducati 1098 that we did in 2021, the yellow one. Wow, what a cool bike. I did not anticipate falling so deeply in love with the 1098. That one was really hard to give away. It had so much pizzazz and character. I know that sounds like a Ducatista thing to say, but the thing just oozed cool factor. It was completely analog, completely raw, no computers, no ABS, no traction control, just you and a handful of 101 foot-pounds of torque. The thing was an animal, an absolute beast of a motorcycle. It just frickin' went like a rocket ship, and it just had that classic Ducati twin-cylinder feel. I really think the 1098 is the best twin-cylinder Ducati. Yes, you can make the case for the 1098R and the 1299s and the Panigales and those things, but I think the 1098 is really the cream of the crop. Another bike that I would happily have one in the stable. I adored the 1098, especially after I took it on track, and you just feel such a visceral connection with the bike when you really get it right, when you get to trail it into corners and you feel the back end move around and you get on the gas and it's squirrely a little bit. The 1098 is a super cool machine, and that was one of the hardest giveaway bikes I've ever had to let go. I think I actually wasn't there in person when the guy came and picked it up and shipped it away because I really couldn't bring myself to see it just leave. Super cool bike, really, really missed that one. And the other Ducati, of course, is my personal Ducati Scrambler Desert sled. I first rode a Ducati Scrambler in 2016 as a ride and review that a fan of the channel gave to me way back when. And I don't know what it was about it, but the 2-valve air-cooled Ducati engine, dude, it just did things to me. It just scratched me in such a particular way that I just was so interested in it. And it never left my mind, so much so that 3 years later in 2019, when I had the chance to get a new personal bike for myself, I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm getting. It was like, I instantly knew, because I saw the Desert Sled variant in 2018, I believe is when it launched. When that first launched, it had the gold wheels and the orange and black gas tank. And I was like, man, this bike is so sick. I was like, it's got longer suspension travel, it looks super fun, and I was exactly right. It is super fun, and I've had so much fun with mine. I've taken mine on adventure rides in Mexico, New Mexico. I've taken it out to Big Bend. I've done trail riding with it, wheelies with it, all kinds of crazy fun stuff, just all kinds of good stuff, enjoying that motorcycle. And I love the Desert Sled. It's still one of my very favorite Ducatis, and I think it makes a fantastic street bike. It's got the big banana seat, so you can swing a leg and enjoy it and appreciate it. You can ride it around all day long, put a passenger on it. It's a great cafe bike. It's a great weekend bike. It's an awesome machine, and I really, really love mine. and I don't think I'll ever sell it, because I made that mistake with some other bikes. I'm never selling the Desert Sled. Never, 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 never. Okay, one more Triumph on the list. Or maybe another one, it's the Thruxton RS. I really liked this bike, way more than I thought I would. And I'm really curious to try out the Triumph Speed Twin, because I think there's a variant that's basically the Thruxton RS, but with taller handlebars, and I think that would be my ultimate Bonneville. I think the Bonneville platform is super sweet. There's a lot of variants I haven't tried yet, and I really want to. It's actually in the bikes I haven't ridden yet list, but we'll get into that. But the Thruxton RS was my first experience with Triumph's 1200cc parallel twin. Man, it's this velvety smooth, really nice engine. Makes a good bark of torque. I don't know, that bike just did things to me. I really, really like the Thruxton RS, and just had a ball with that bike. And that was another one that it just has this beautiful look back factor to it. I could really see myself owning one of those too. But then I think about all the bikes I want to own, and then I think about how big my personal garage is, and I'm like, I cannot possibly fit, in good conscience, like 12 bikes in a 2-car garage and have a stable marriage. I think my wife would probably force me to sell a couple of them. I think I could get away with 6 of them, not 12, but maybe 6. Okay, another bike that I have to talk about, and I mentioned it earlier, is the Husqvarna FE501S. I bought this bike as a replacement for my WR250, which again, I do regret selling the WR a little bit, but the Husqvarna FE501S, like, totally, like, exploded my brain with what's possible with a motorcycle that is categorized as a dual sport. It's pretty much an enduro bike with plates. I'd never ridden a single-cylinder motor that produced so much visceral torque and power. It freaking power wheelies in 4th gear. I could not believe how lightweight, how playful, how easy it was to ride. Really, really love that bike. I'm currently trying to sell it. I haven't had too many bidders or people asking about it, and I'm actually now considering just putting supermoto wheels on it and just freaking ripping the thing and just doing wheelies with it all day long. I think that would be so much fun, but I really love the Husky 501. Okay, the last few bikes here, we have 3 more bikes that are my favorite. Then I'm gonna talk about bikes that I haven't ridden yet, but I really want to. So these last 3. The first one I wanna talk about is, of course, it's kind of a pair of bikes, and you'll see why. It's the Kawasaki H2 platform, specifically the ZH2 and the H2. They both have similar flavors, but they deliver very differently, okay? So like the H2 gives me a lot of the Turbo Hayabusa energy, right? It's like, go full tuck, enjoy this world-ending amount of power, and just rip speeds. The H2 was the first bike I did over 200 miles an hour on. I did 211 miles an hour at the Texas Mile with that bike, and that was incredible. But the ZH2 has this just ridiculous, like, rip your arms off vibe, just wants to wheelie everywhere, and just like feeling that crazy supercharger flutter all the time in a street format is really cool too. So I really appreciate both the kind of brothers, the ZH2 and the H2. I think they're super, super fun and very unique motorcycles. I could easily see myself having some H2 derived bike in my stable for sure. I don't think that that's going to be a question. I think I kind of have to, because the feeling of that linear supercharger is just super special, super, super special. All right, penultimate bike here. This is a bike I rode recently, but it really left a big impression on me, so much so that I'm actually thinking about maybe getting one, but I can't justify swapping one of my bikes, and you'll see why. It's the Ducati Desert X. I rode this bike in Las Vegas. I spent about a whole day with it, doing off-road riding a little bit, of highway commuting, like just kind of a big day out with the bike. And I could easily see myself making the case of swapping my Desert Sled for a Desert X. But then I get so sad thinking about my Desert Sled not being in my stable that I ultimately just come to my senses and just tell myself that I don't have the time to do crazy transcontinental adventure riding and stuff like that, and I don't really even want to ride off-road anymore. So that dream kind of went away. But the Desert X is a really good bike. Really, really cool bike. I still think about it from time to time, which is why I included it in today's video of some of my favorite bikes I've ever ridden. Really like the Desert X. Could easily see myself having one of those bikes. Very, very cool machine. Something about the way it looks with the two bug eyes, the Cagiva Elephant look, super cool. Okay, last bike for me, for my favorite bikes that I've actually ridden, and I think I'm gonna say it, it's my favorite bike of all time. If you guys are big fans of the channel, you already know what I'm gonna say. Nothing else has made me feel like this motorcycle. It is the Daytona 675R, the 2013 Plus edition. I have bought 4 of these motorcycles. I've crashed 2 of them. Well, I've crashed the third one a whole bunch because I've raced it and tracked it and stuff. I think that bike went down 3 or 4 times, and then I bought a parts bike. So I have this parts Daytona and a track Daytona right now. It's my race bike, it's my track bike. I think we're gonna transition it into just a track bike for 2024. We'll see. I don't really know if I wanna sprint race big bikes. I'm having so much fun endurance racing our Ninja 400, and I'll probably sprint race the 400 too, because why not? But the 675 Daytona is truly my favorite bike of all time. I cannot think of any bike I have ridden that gives me the same emotion as the 675. The engine is, to me, perfect. It is the perfect amount of power, the perfect amount of weight. The handling is beautiful. I don't care that it's not as competitive as an R6. I don't care that it doesn't pull as hard as an R6. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's just simply my absolute favorite motorcycle. It is such a treat and a joy whenever I get the chance to swing a leg over my 675 on track and do exactly what it was meant to do at a pretty decent level. I've just, you know, it reinforces to me that this is something that I've spent a lot of time doing, and it's something that I'm pretty good at, and it's something I love doing. The feeling of being elbow down on my Daytona, just carving up corners, looking through a corner, hitting an apex, going wide open, going full tuck, and just hearing that visceral, just full exhaust sing. I love that bike so much. I will never get rid of it. I will lovingly take care of it, probably until the day I die. I have a factory service manual for it. I'm gonna do all the work on it myself. I actually have to refresh a lot of stuff on it because a lot of stuff is broken, but just starting it up and just hearing that triple is glorious. It is my favorite bike. It will always be my favorite bike. But let me tell you guys about some bikes that I haven't ridden yet, but I really, really want to. Okay, the first one should come as no surprise if you're a big fan of the channel. It's the Honda CBX. I'm dying to ride one of these bikes. I'm absolutely dying to ride one of these bikes. I want to own one. I don't know. A 6-cylinder bike that revs to 11,000 RPM. The sound that thing makes is incredible. I would get one with a 6-into-1 pipe. It sounds like a freaking Formula One car. The Honda CBX for me is a dream bike. I want to own one. I want to ride one. I've never even heard one in person. I've seen 2 or 3 of them in real life. I've never heard one in real life. I've watched so many videos. That is, for me, a absolute holy grail bike. I have to ride one day, if not own one day. The next bike is a Honda as well, and it's a ultra legendary bike that if I get the chance to ride one, it would be amazing. I will definitely never own one. It's the Honda NR 750. It's the oval piston, frickin' 32 valve bike that Honda made back in the day. The frickin' thing has 8 valves per cylinder arranged with an oval piston. It's basically Honda trying to make a V8, but not make a V8. It's incredible. I've seen one in person, a pristine example at a motorcycle museum up in Canada, and I was blown away by it. I looked at it for a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just observing it, looking at it, checking out all the components. If I ever got the chance to ride one, I would be beside myself. If I ever got the chance to own one, I would be even more through the roof, but I think that's a little more unlikely. So I mentioned it earlier, but a big bike that I want to ride is the Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE. I think this bike is going to tick off a lot of boxes for me. It's probably going to have similar Ducati Scrambler Desert sled energy to me, but with that 1200 motor I love from Triumph so much, and just be a big, commanding, fun hooligan of a bike. Really want to try out that machine. I think I'd really fall in love with it. Another bike I really want to try that is one of my all-time favorites is the Aprilia RS250. This is an old two-stroke race replica bike, and the motor is actually from Suzuki, if memory serves me correctly, and it's just ultra lightweight, two-stroke insanity. I would love to try out one of these bikes on track. I've heard nothing but good things. So unique, so weird, so different. Very, very different than the kind of sport bikes we have nowadays, and I think it would just be a real treat to ride. Another one that's big on my list is the Suzuki B King, the naked Hayabusa. I would just really love the chance to ride one of these bikes. They're definitely one of my favorites. I think it's so interesting that Suzuki was kind of like way ahead of the curve of the hyper naked bike thing. It was like 5 years before the Super Duke came out, the 1290. Suzuki had this 1300cc, naked Hayabusa. That's such a unique thing. I would love to ride one of those just to see what it's like, just to see what a factory naked Hayabusa is like. I think that'd be really cool. The last two bikes on the list are both Yamahas that I haven't ridden. One of them I actually have on the content calendar for later on in August, but that's actually the Yamaha Niken. I think this is a really zany bike, and I've always wanted to try one out. I wouldn't say it's one of my absolute all-time favorites, but I can really respect what it is because it's super unique, super different. Yamaha really had no reason to make this bike, but they did anyways, and I think that's really cool. And the last bike on the list of my favorites of all time, another one that is very near and dear to my heart, that I haven't gotten the chance to ride yet, but I think I want to own one day in honor of my dad. This was actually the bike he used to ride. It was the Yamaha R350. This was Yamaha's old 70s two-stroke Widowmaker-ish bike. This bike apparently scared the pants off of my dad and made him stop riding. I'm a little dumber and I just kept riding despite crashing and going faster and faster and faster and faster. But I would love to own and ride the Yamaha RD350 and experience a little bit of what my father experienced back in the day in the 70s in Brazil, dodging taxis and other things in the city of São Paulo. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed it. That was a quick list of my very favorite motorcycles I've ridden and my very favorite motorcycles that I haven't ridden yet, but I really want to. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. Remember, we have 5x entries on the ZX4RR going on right now on yamanoob.co. Get yourself a helmet, jacket, gloves. Again, we have amazing products from Revit, Alpine Stars, Dainese, Scorpion. Really recommend the Scorpion EXO helmet we have on there. That's been a super big seller for us lately, and we're super excited by that too. And go and check that out. I truly do appreciate all of the support. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite motorcycles are. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you agree with some of my choices or if you have other choices, let me know down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Only one thing to say to you today. While we sit here taking a knee, it's a special moment, me and you hanging out here. Do it. I don't even got to tell you what to do. You already know what to do. You've made it to the end of the video. You got the time. I know you're sitting there. You want to make sure that you can keep watching yourself some Yami Noob. So what you want to do, just click that video right over here. Do it.